Welcome back to Depraved and Debaucherous. And this is King of Podcasts here with you. But kind of fresh out of episodes, I had to again start stacking up the stockpile of episodes. I haven't had a chance to go and do them. It's been kind of backed up. And one of those episodes I actually just did recently was Confessions of a Sugar Daddy, where I talked to an anonymous source by the name of JL. And I'm hoping to go and bring him back on for future episodes so we can have other things discovered that a sugar daddy would only know about what it is like for a sugar baby to go and contact someone like him and the things he's encountered on a sugar daddy site in his experience. So we're going to talk more about that on upcoming episodes as they warrant. But in the meantime, I got a story about the white knight syndrome in relationships. 5 signs that you might have that. The white knight, the rescuer in a romantic relationship. I'm going to say this. I know this by heart because I've been that white knight. This speaks to me. And I want to say as far back as about 14, 15 years old, after I hit puberty, I always had the feel of wanting to be the rescuer, sacrificing. This syndrome, they say, stems from experiences from the white knight's childhood where their parent or caretaker suffered emotional or physical pain regularly. And so they were a child at the time, the white knight felt powerless over the suffering that occurred in their household. So in adulthood, they would often subconsciously seek out partners prone to suffering and want to cure them of that suffering in order to make up for what they couldn't do as a child. I don't know. See, I didn't have that part. And I'm not sure. Well, the white knight syndrome did not come from that part. So, what it actually came from for me, and I really believe there are some other people out there that have gone through the same thing I did. The fact that I watched a lot of soap operas as a kid. I would watch the women that were always in distress. Beautiful women that were always in distress and always felt like I wanted to help them. And, you take sometimes the TV characters you watch on TV with all that emotion, you kind of get yourself attached to it. That was what happened to me. I would always get caught up in that. The other thing I also got caught up as well, especially in my teens, was when I would see particular women that I wanted to also rescue. Like I would watch on television. One of the shows I used to love watching was the Laura show. It was on Telemundo, 4 o'clock every weekday. I think I made sure I got home every day to watch it. It was appointment viewing. And if I didn't, I had the VCR running. I was recording it. That woman, she was the perfect mix of Maury Povich, Cheaters, and Jerry Springer. Everything that could have been so out there and ridiculous, it was. In terms of guys cheating on the wives, or it would be a guy that would be just so much of a cheater. This woman would go ahead and encounter 4 or 5 women he was cheating with, and she would get him on the show to beat the crap out of the guy. Now the thing that goes for the girls, women would come on there and would be complete floozies, and then every woman on there would come and attack. Plus, it was something about a woman that was being very violent to her child. They would actually have, hidden cameras in the house showing the abuse and would go after. Or if there was any kind of infidelity between someone with somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife, they would catch that on camera. These people were ruthless, and they did it all the time. But the white knight syndrome, today it probably is that part where it could be the subconscious of somebody being felt powerless over the suffering. For me, it was that, because I always were for the woman. I always wanted to help the woman and be the one that rescued a woman. I wanted to be that white knight. And the soap operas caused me to do that. It's a fact. I wish it wasn't that way, but I know it was. It took me a long time to figure that out, but I did notice that. Now, it may look like one person just being heroic for the vulnerable partner they're helping, but it's actually dark emotional pain, can leave the rescuer sacrificing their own needs to help others. Right. So there are guys that are white knights that are the nice guys. We've talked about it. Hell, there's even a part in the Robert Glover book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, that really discusses that. It stems first and foremost from a need to portray yourself as selfless and giving. This is where the narcissistic, sociopathic stuff comes in. And I understand that part. I'm not going to say I didn't have certain tendencies at some point younger in my life that could have been very much me. Yeah. Did I even maybe expressed that way? Yes. A couple of random times, and I found out what I was doing. The traumas can make the white knight prone to hyper-emotional sensitivity, especially susceptible to being hurt. The pattern of finding partners who need a lot of caregiving can aggravate the white knight's pain, make it feel the need to rescue others, even if they always end up hurt in the end. Right. Because I noticed what I was doing was I was dealing with a lot of girls that were honestly emotionally damaged. But my problem was I didn't understand how to help. This show is an extension of me wanting to help women out there and the guys now to understand, listen, the damage that can be done for all of you that have children, if they're not being raised with a mother or father figure or a dominant and a submissive, really just a masculine or feminine figure. There has to be that in every relationship. If the children are going to be ensured to be raised and they could actually live a productive, happy life, be a productive citizen of society. So there's 5 signs they give. Because you couldn't save your parent or yourself, you try to make it up for saving your own romantic partners in your adult life. Number 2, you over-romanticize the idea of your partner. I've done that all the time. Honestly, I over-romanticize every woman that I ever have some kind of attraction to. Always. See the potential for how they could be because of all the positive qualities you see in them, and you try to fix their problems. And what I started learning when I got to my 30s, stop fixing. Stop fixing. Now it's to the point where I'd rather try to see if in the conversations that I learned to identify if there's things that are there. Not to be fixed, but just understand what it is. And to help that other person, help that loved one so they can kind of work their way through. If somebody you're romantically involved with, or you want to be romantically involved with, can't fix. It's got to be on them if they want it. If they want it. You cling to your partner to validate your sense of self, the fear of abandonment they talk about. Then being accused of being controlling, which that's the narcissism. That's the controlling, that's that sense of manipulation. Manipulation is always going to be in here too. Could be subconscious. But it's things like this that can drive the partner away, dooming the white knight to feel the abandonment they were trying to avoid. The cycle would continue. And you don't reciprocate vulnerability. So that means you're not showing your own vulnerability. If you're asking for the woman to be vulnerable to you, it's the emotional, it's that emotional communication. It has to be mutual. You have to be able to open up yourself if you're going to have somebody else open up to you. It's got to be an open avenue for both in conversation and communication. I agree with that. That's it for this episode. So don't be the white knight. I'm better off until you find that woman or that man that they can't live without you. They can't think of a life where they don't live without you. And they're there for everything good and bad. In the meantime, just find somebody who can be depraved and debaucherous.